saved the alien princess. Then everything changed. The warning alarm screamed before Nathan Cole even had time to breathe. He yanked his fighter hard left, and the railgun burst from the enemy drone cut through empty space where his cockpit had been half a second ago. 3 drones. No, 4. Coming from the asteroid belt at coordinates he had never seen plotted on any star chart. Nathan was not supposed to be out here. His patrol route covered Sector 7 of the Kuiper Fringe, a quiet stretch of rocks and ice that nobody cared about. 3 years of quiet, 3 years of nothing. Then tonight. He rolled the fighter again. Drone 2 tried to match his angle and overshot. He let the targeting computer catch up, squeezed the trigger, and Drone 2 became a brief orange flower in the dark. 3 left. The drones were not Velhari design. He knew Velhari tech. Every human pilot who had survived the first contact wars knew Velhari tech by sight, by sound, by the particular way their weapons made your teeth ache through your helmet visor. These were something else, older looking, cruder, but fast. The distress signal was what had pulled him off route. 40 minutes ago, a low-frequency emergency beacon had tripped his passive scanner. He had almost ignored it. Almost. His commanding officer, Derek Shaw, would have told him to log it and keep moving. Derek Shaw was not in the cockpit with him. He had followed the signal to a drifting escape pod. Small, single occupant. The hull markings were not human, not any design in his database. The pod had no weapons, no shields, nothing but a thin metal shell and a heartbeat reading on his bioscan that said whoever was inside was alive but barely. Then the drones showed up. He pulled the fighter into a barrel roll and came up underneath Drone 3, punching 2 rounds through its drive core. It spun away dead. 2 left. They were smarter now, spreading out, trying to flank him and cut off his angle back to the pod. He understood immediately. They were not trying to shoot him. They were using the space to chase him away from the pod. They wanted the pod. He went straight at Drone 4 instead of running. It was not a move any tactical program would recommend. Head-on against a combat drone with his shields already at 60%. The drone hesitated for exactly 1 second, because the move made no logical sense, and in that second Nathan fired everything forward. Drone 4 came apart with a sound like a bell, rung inside a jar. The last drone broke off and ran. He let it go. He matched velocity with the pod and locked a tow line. The bioscan said the occupant was unconscious now. Oxygen levels in the pod were dropping fast. He cracked his fighter's emergency airlock seal and pulled the pod close enough to manually transfer the occupant across. She was not human. He had known she would not be. The pod markings had told him that much. But knowing a thing and seeing a thing are separated by a distance that no amount of knowing can fully close. She was tall, taller than him by at least half a foot, and he was not a short man. Her skin was a deep silver gray with the faint shimmer of something metallic just beneath the surface. 4 fingers on each hand. Her features were angular and precise, like a sculpture made by someone who had studied human faces and made deliberate improvements. Her hair, if you could call it that, was a dark blue-black and lay flat against her skull in a pattern that looked almost like circuit lines. She was wearing armor, not military armor, ceremonial, heavy gold and white plating with symbols across the chest that his translation program did not recognize. He got her breathing on his emergency oxygen supply and strapped her to the second seat. Then his comm unit nearly blew out his eardrums. Cole, Derek Shaw's voice, controlled, which meant he was angry. Your transponder just jumped 600 kilometers off route. Explain yourself. I have got an injured alien in my cockpit, sir. Silence. Say again. Non-human occupant appears female, unconscious but stable. Her pod was under drone attack. Unknown drone design. I destroyed 3 of them and the 4th ran. More silence. Non-human, Derek said. Are we talking Velhari? Nathan looked at the symbols on her armor. His translation program had stopped trying to identify them and simply displayed a line of red text that read, Cross-reference match found, Imperial House, Velhari Royal Family. His stomach dropped somewhere around his knees. Sir, he said carefully, I think we might have a problem. She opened her eyes. They were pale gold, almost white at the center. She looked at him with an expression he could not read on a human face, let alone an alien one. Then she said something in a language his program caught just enough of to translate 3 words. Those 3 words were, "You are human." She said it the way someone might say, "You are a miracle," or possibly, "You are a catastrophe." Nathan was not sure which one was more accurate yet. Sir, he said into the calm, I need you to wake up the Admiral, and maybe after that I need you to wake up the President. He pointed the fighter toward home and pushed the throttle to maximum. Behind him, somewhere in the asteroid belt, the last drone was already transmitting to whoever had sent it. The docking bay of Station Argus went quiet the moment Nathan Cole walked through the airlock, with the alien woman leaning against his shoulder. Not the polite quiet of people minding their business. The hard, held-breath quiet of 40 trained soldiers and technicians seeing something that rearranged their understanding of the next 5 minutes. She was conscious. She had been in and out during the flight back, but as Nathan had cut the engine and called in his approach, she had sat up straight and looked out at Station Argus through the cockpit glass with the focused attention of someone filing information away at speed. She had not spoken again after those 3 words in the pod, but her eyes had tracked everything. The instrument panel, the star charts on the secondary screen, his hands on the controls. She was studying him the same way he was studying her. Derek Shaw was waiting at the bottom of the landing ramp. 47 years old, gray at the temples, carrying the look of a man who had already made 3 calls he could never take back. Cole, Derek said. His eyes moved to the alien woman. His jaw tightened once and then relaxed with the discipline of someone who had trained himself not to react. Medical team is standing by. She seems stable, Nathan said, but her pod oxygen was critical when I pulled her. She should be checked. The medical team moved forward. The alien woman watched them approach and went very still, not afraid, calculating. Nathan stepped slightly to his left without thinking, putting himself between her and the 6 people walking toward her. She noticed. Her pale gold eyes moved to his face. He stepped back. They are medics, he said, not sure how much of that she understood. They want to help. She let them approach. Derek pulled Nathan aside while the medical team worked. You know who she is, Derek said. It was not a question. The translation program flagged Imperial House markings, Velhari Royal Family. Derek nodded slowly. We have been running the symbols since you called it in. Our best linguistic program cross-referenced them 20 minutes ago. He paused. She is Princess Zara, eldest daughter of Emperor Velkarin, direct heir to the Velhari throne. Nathan stood with that for a moment. The Velhari Empire spanned 11 star systems. They had been in contact with humanity for 30 years, and in those 30 years the relationship had moved through 3 stages. First contact, which had gone badly. A war that humanity had survived by a margin so thin that military historians still argued about whether luck or strategy deserved the credit. And then a cold peace built on the mutual understanding that neither side wanted to test the other again. The Velhari did not consider humans equals. They were politely clear about this in every diplomatic exchange. Humans were young. Humans were crude. Humans had potential but required significant development before they would be worth serious attention. That attitude had not changed in 30 years. How long before they know she is here? Nathan asked. Too late for that question. We are already getting a frequency request from a Velhari vessel. They are calling it a routine border patrol. It is not a routine border patrol. It is a cruiser, and it crossed into our boundary 9 minutes ago. They tracked her pod. Or they tracked whoever attacked her pod. Derek looked at him steadily. Those drones you described. We pulled the fragments you left behind on your flight path. Our analysis team says the core engineering is Velhari, modified to remove identification markers, but the origin is clear. Nathan went still. Someone from inside her own empire tried to kill her. That is the working theory, yes. The medical team had gotten the princess onto a portable examination table. She was tolerating it with visible impatience, refusing the sedative they offered with a single flat look that required no translation. Her eyes found Nathan again across the bay. He walked over. "Your medics are thorough," she said. Her accent was layered, each word arriving with a slight delay, like she was translating as she spoke rather than speaking from fluency. But the words were clear. "You understand me." "I do," he said. "How long have you spoken our language?" "Long enough," she studied him. "You destroyed 3 attack drones and drove off a 4th, alone." "They were focused on the pod. I had the angle." "No," she said. "They were good drones. The people who sent them chose good drones. You were just better." She paused. "Why did you stop for my pod?" "There was a distress signal." Human ships ignore distress signals from non-human sources. This is well documented. Nathan looked at her. Then whoever documented it was watching the wrong humans. Something shifted in her expression. He still could not fully read it, but it shifted. "There is a Velhari cruiser at your border," she said. "I know what it wants. I need you to understand that if you hand me to that ship, I will be dead before it crosses back out of your boundary." "Those were Velhari drones." "Yes." "Someone in your own empire." She did not answer that. She did not need to. Nathan turned to Derek, who had been standing close enough to hear every word. Derek looked like a man doing math on a problem that had no clean answer. "If we hold her," Nathan said quietly, "we have a diplomatic incident with the most powerful empire in this sector." "Yes," Derek said. "If we hand her over to that ship, she dies, and whoever wanted her dead gets what they want without us knowing why." "Yes." "And whoever wanted her dead just attacked a target inside our border. Those drones crossed into our territory." Derek looked at him. "You are suggesting we treat this as an act of aggression inside our boundary." "I am suggesting that is exactly what it was." Derek was quiet for 4 full seconds. That was a long time for Derek Shaw. "Get her to a secure medical room," he said finally, "and tell that cruiser their entry into our boundary is under review pending a full incident report. Standard diplomatic language. It buys us 8 hours, maybe 12. He looked at Nathan. "In those 12 hours," Derek said, "we need to know who on that ship wants her dead and why. Because right now we are standing in the middle of something that started before you pulled her out of that pod. We are just the last people to find out about it." Nathan looked back at Princess Zara. She had heard all of it. She was watching him with those pale gold eyes. The same expression she had when she first opened them in the cockpit. He still had not decided which translation was correct. "You are a miracle," or "You are a catastrophe." Outside the station, the Velhari cruiser was waiting. And somewhere in the asteroid belt, the last drone was still transmitting to someone who had not yet gotten the answer they wanted. The woman who came through the secure medical room door 12 minutes later was not Derek Shaw, and she was not military. Laura Quinn, Human Intelligence Division. Nathan had seen her twice before at briefings he had not been invited to but had been present for anyway. She had short brown hair, a quiet way of entering rooms, and eyes that cataloged everything in a space before she had fully stepped into it. She looked at Princess Zara the way someone looks at a chess piece that had just appeared on a board they thought they understood. "How is she?" Laura asked Nathan, though her eyes did not leave Zara. Stable, no serious injuries. She is refusing any treatment she cannot directly observe being applied. Nathan paused. She is also aware that the cruiser is still at our boundary. She has been counting minutes. Smart. Laura stepped toward the princess. Your Highness, my name is Laura Quinn. I represent the Human Intelligence Division. I would like to ask you some questions if you are willing. Zara looked at her. You want to know who sent the drones? Among other things. I will tell you, Zara said, but not because you asked. She looked at Nathan. Because he pulled me out of that pod, and I owe him the truth. Laura glanced at Nathan briefly. He said nothing. Zara sat forward. My father, Emperor Velkarin, is dying. The illness has been kept from the public record for 8 months. He has 2 months remaining, perhaps 3. When he dies, I become empress. This has been the law of our house for 400 years. She paused. My uncle Veldraken does not want that to happen. He commands the 4th Imperial Fleet. He has been gathering support among military commanders who believe a female heir is a structural weakness. They call it tradition. It is not tradition. It is fear. Your uncle ordered the attack, Nathan said. He ordered a removal, Zara said. Clean, untraced. My escape pod was supposed to drift until its oxygen supply failed. No evidence. A tragedy. My father would die believing his daughter was lost in a navigational accident. Her voice was level. Nathan noted that. The steadiness of someone who had already sat with this longer than the past few hours. Veldraken's people rerouted my transport ship while I was in cryosleep. I only woke when the pod's emergency program detected your distress signal scan. He used our scan to wake her, Nathan said to Laura. His people calculated that a human patrol would not stop for a non-human beacon, Zara said. Standard probability. Your records supported it. She paused. They were wrong. Laura had a tablet in her hand and was recording. The cruiser at our border. That is Veldraken's ship. No, the cruiser is loyal to my father's house. They were scrambled when my transport failed to arrive at its destination. They came looking for me. She met Laura's eyes. But Veldraken has people on that ship. Not many. Enough. If I board it before the Loyalists can confirm my safety through a channel that Draken's people cannot intercept, I will not reach my father alive. You need a clean channel, Nathan said. I need to speak to the Imperial High Chamberlain. Directly. His encryption is one that Veldraken has not yet broken. If I can confirm my location and status through him, the Loyalists on the cruiser are protected and Draken cannot move against me without open evidence of his actions. Laura looked at Nathan. Nathan looked at Laura. We have a Velhari diplomatic frequency archive from the peace negotiations, Nathan said. 12 years old, but the High Chamberlain's encryption signature should be in there. We cannot simply open a channel to the Velhari Imperial Court, Laura said. No, Nathan agreed. But she can. We just need to give her the equipment. Zara was watching the exchange between them with something that might have been the alien version of surprise. You are moving faster than I expected. We move faster when someone's life is on the line, Nathan said. Your species is supposed to be cautious, territorial, reluctant to act without committee approval. Whoever wrote that report, Nathan said, was not watching the right humans. She recognized the phrasing. Something in her expression shifted in a direction that was almost a smile. 20 minutes later, Nathan had pulled the frequency archive, and Derek had authorized the use of the diplomatic comm suite under emergency provisions. Zara sat at the console, her long fingers adapting to unfamiliar controls in roughly 90 seconds. Nathan stood behind her. The encryption handshake took 4 minutes. Then a voice came through, older, formal. The translation program worked hard and delivered something close enough. Zara spoke for 3 minutes without stopping. The language was too layered for the program to fully render, but Nathan caught fragments. Attack. Veldraken. Human territory. Alive. Then silence. Then the Chamberlain responded. Zara closed the channel and sat still for a moment. He believed me, she said. The loyalists on the cruiser are being notified through a channel Draken cannot see. The cruiser will stand down. She paused. Vel Draken will know I reached you within the next 2 hours. He will also know that I spoke to the Chamberlain. What does he do when he knows that? She turned in the chair and looked at Nathan directly. He removes the evidence, she said. He is very good at it. He has been doing it for a year. Nathan understood. He comes here, he said. Not himself, he sends people. Clean, no evidence. She held his gaze. You saved my life once, Nathan Cole. I need to ask something of you that you have every reason to refuse. Ask. Vel Draken has the weapon codes for a planetary disruptor. It was built in secret over the past 3 years. It is the reason the military commanders support him. He does not just want the throne. He wants to demonstrate what happens to systems that do not submit to him. He has 3 targets already selected. She paused. One of them is Earth. The room was quiet enough to hear the air recycler turning. Laura Quinn had stopped writing. Nathan did not look away from Zara. Where is the disruptor? Hidden in the asteroid belt where the drones attacked my pod. They were guarding it. He had been 600 kilometers from it. How long before Draken activates it? If he believes I have exposed him, he will accelerate the timeline. Days, perhaps less. Nathan stood up straight. He looked at Derek, who had come into the room at some point during the last 30 seconds without Nathan noticing. Derek said, I will call the Admiral. Call the President too, Nathan said. He had said that before, but this time the reason was different. Before, it had been diplomacy. Now Earth was on Vel Draken's list. That changed everything. The joint briefing room on Station Argus held 11 people, and enough tension to make the walls feel closer. 6 humans, 5 Velhari. The Velhari had come aboard 2 hours after Zara's call to the Chamberlain. Not soldiers, loyalists from the cruiser, a small team sent by the ship's captain after the Chamberlain's message went through. Their leader was a Velhari male named Kor Vashit, tall even by Velhari standards, with armor that was military rather than ceremonial and eyes the color of hammered copper. He had looked at Nathan when he walked in and said, in accented but precise English, "You are the human who pulled her from the pod." "I am," Nathan said. Kor Vashit had studied him for a moment with the focused attention of someone recalibrating a previously held opinion. Then he had turned to the briefing table and said nothing further. That was progress, Nathan decided. The planetary disruptor was the problem that made everything else small. Laura Quinn had pulled every piece of intelligence they had on Velhari weapons development for the past decade. The disruptor was not in any of it, which meant Vel Draken had built it entirely outside of any channel that the Empire's oversight structures could see. That kind of operation required resources, loyalty, and 3 years of patience. The device requires direct activation from within 50,000 kilometers, Kor Vashit said. He pulled up a diagram on the table display. The translation program rendered the labels in approximate English. It cannot be triggered remotely. Draken or one of his senior commanders must be physically present. Then he has to come here to use it, Nathan said, into our sector. Yes, and he cannot enter openly. The Chamberlain has already sent a recall order for the 4th Imperial Fleet. Draken's ships are supposed to report to the Imperial capital for review. He has a window of perhaps 36 hours before it becomes clear he is not complying. Derek Shaw was looking at the star chart. That asteroid belt is 600 kilometers from our patrol line. If Draken comes for it, he enters our territory. He entered it before, Zara said from the far end of the table. The drones were his. He has already crossed your boundary twice. A third crossing we treat as a declaration, Derek said. He looked at Nathan. Which means we are cleared to engage. Nathan studied the diagram of the disruptor, built into a hollowed asteroid most likely. The power signature at close range would be enormous. We need to reach it before he activates it, Nathan said. Destroy it completely. Destroy it, Korvashit said flatly. Disabling leaves the technology intact. Draken has engineers who could reconstruct a disabled device in 72 hours. What does full destruction require? Nathan asked. A directed energy strike at the core chamber triggers an internal collapse. The device destroys itself. Clean. Korvashit paused. But the outer shell is rated against orbital bombardment. A standard fighter weapon will not penetrate it. What will? A Velhari heavy cannon, ship-mounted. We brought one on the cruiser. Then the cruiser has to be the strike platform, Nathan said. The cruiser will be detected the moment it moves toward the asteroid belt. Draken has sensor relays planted throughout this region. He will activate the device before we reach firing range. The table went quiet. Nathan was tracing the patrol routes with his eyes. The asteroids. The blind spots in any sensor grid that had to deal with interference from a dense rock field. He had flown that region for 3 years. The relays are looking for ships, he said. Large mass signatures, drives with standard output. Correct, Korvashit said. A fighter with a modified drive, running on minimum output reads like a drifting rock. A fighter cannot carry the heavy cannon. No, Nathan said, but a fighter can carry a Velhari operator close enough to the device to plant a manual activation charge on the outer shell. Manual contact. No sensor signature. Everyone at the table looked at him. You would have to navigate the asteroid's approach in a dead drift, Laura said. No navigation assist. No active sensors. I have flown that belt for 3 years, Nathan said. I know it. You know the public access survey data, Derek said carefully. I know the rocks, Nathan said. Not the same thing. Derek looked at him for a long moment. The same calculation Nathan had watched him run twice before. The one with no clean answers. Korvashit, Derek said. Will your people accept this plan? Korvashit looked at Nathan. Which one of yours goes in the fighter? Me, Nathan said. The human who pulled her from the pod. Korvashit said it without inflection. Then, I go with you. No debate. No committee vote. Just a Velhari soldier and a human pilot deciding a thing and being done with it. Zara stood. I need to speak to Nathan Cole before this begins. They stepped into the corridor outside the briefing room. The door closed. The noise fell away. She was looking at him with the same expression that had followed him since the cockpit. He had stopped trying to decode it and started simply allowing it to exist. If this goes wrong, she said, the device activates. You will not survive the range. Yes. And my uncle takes the throne. Also yes, probably. You understand all of this, and you are going anyway. It was not a question. Someone has to, Nathan said. That is not a reason. It is the only one that matters, he said. The elaborate reasons come after. The doing comes first. She was quiet for a moment. My people have a concept, Vel Sarak. The closest translation is something like a debt that cannot be paid in kind and so must be paid forward into everything. We have the same concept, Nathan said. We just call it being human. The corner of her mouth moved. This time he was certain it was a smile. Go destroy my uncle's weapon, she said. Give me 6 hours, he said. He walked back through the door. The mission briefing took 45 minutes. The pre-flight took 20. Nathan and Korvashit were in the fighter and out of the docking bay in 63 minutes from the moment Nathan had said the doing comes first. Dead drift. Minimum drive output. navigation by memory, and the kind of feel for a spacecraft that only years of flying the same corridor gives you. The asteroid belt swallowed them whole. 2 hours of threading rock. Corvashit had said nothing for the first hour and 40 minutes. Then, into the silence, "You are afraid." "Yes," Nathan said. "You do not show it. Showing it does not help the navigation." Another silence. Then, "My people believe humans are impulsive, emotional, poorly suited for high-function decisions under pressure." "I know," Nathan said. "I am revising that assessment." Nathan almost smiled, appreciated. The sensor relay passed within 200 meters of them and did not flag anything. Nathan breathed. The target asteroid was ahead, larger than he had expected. The hollowed core would be enormous. He cut the drive to absolute zero output and let the fighter drift the last 3 kilometers on nothing but momentum. "Approaching," he said quietly. Corvashit readied the charge. Outside, through the cockpit glass, the asteroid filled the view. Nathan matched its rotation, held the angle, and put the fighter against the surface like a leaf settling on still water. Corvashit planted the charge in 4 minutes. 200 meters of cable run through the asteroid's natural ventilation fissures to the outer shell of the core chamber. Nathan held position and did not breathe. "Done," Corvashit said. Nathan fired the drive at full output and ran. Behind them, the charge detonated 30 seconds later. The asteroid lit up from inside, a white light that pulsed once, twice, and then the rock simply came apart in a slow, soundless expansion that scattered across the belt like a problem finally solved. "It is done," Corvashit said. His voice was quiet, not victorious, settled. Nathan pushed the fighter harder. He had promised 6 hours. He intended to keep it. The return to Station Argus took 2 hours. In those 2 hours, 3 things happened. Vel Draken's fleet refused the Imperial recall order. He had 16 ships and a timeline that had just been destroyed, and he made the decision that reckless men make when their careful plan falls apart. He stopped being careful. His ships crossed the boundary in force. And Zara, sitting in the communications room of Station Argus with Laura Quinn, and a direct channel to the Imperial High Chamberlain, had already anticipated this. Nathan walked into the comm room 12 minutes after docking, still in his flight suit, and found Zara standing at the main console with the focused stillness of someone holding a complicated thing together through sheer will. "Draken crossed," Nathan said. "He crossed," she confirmed, 16 ships. "What does your father's fleet do?" "The Empire's Eastern Command fleet is already moving, 12 hours away." She looked at him. "But your border is 4 hours from his current position." Nathan did a fast calculation that he did not enjoy. Derek was already on the comm with the Admiral. The station's defense grid was live. 3 human ships were being scrambled from the nearest base, enough to make a fight, not enough to win one against 16. "He has 16 ships," Nathan said to Derek. "I know," Derek said. "He crossed our border in force. Under interstellar law, that is an act of aggression against a sovereign territory, which means every allied party to our defense agreements is triggered." Derek stopped moving. Nathan kept going. "We have 9 agreements on file. 3 of them are with species that Draken's fleet would not want to engage. One of them is with the Cathara Assembly, whose combat range covers this entire sector." Laura looked at him. "You want to call the Allies?" "I want to call the Allies loudly," Nathan said. "I want Draken to hear us making those calls. Because Draken crossed our border because he thought we were weak and alone and he had nothing left to lose. We need to show him that the second part is wrong." Zara turned from the console. She looked at Nathan with that expression again. He had a translation for it now. He had put it together piece by piece over the past 6 hours. It was the look of someone seeing a thing they had been told, did not exist. "Do it," she said. Laura was already on secondary comms. Derek gave the authorization in 14 words. The Alliance broadcast went out on all monitored frequencies, which meant Draken's ships received it along with everyone else. The response came from the Cathara assembly in 11 minutes. They were 4 hours out. They had 20 ships. Draken's fleet slowed. Nathan watched the sensor feed. 16 signatures, decelerating, the lead ship coming to a relative stop just inside the boundary line. "He is not retreating," Kor Vashit said from behind him. Nathan turned. The Velhari soldier had come in silently and was reading the feed over Nathan's shoulder. "He is waiting." "For what?" "To see if the Cathara signal is genuine or a bluff. He will hold position for approximately 40 minutes. If no Cathara ships appear on long-range sensors, he will decide it is a bluff and advance." Kor Vashit paused. "If they appear, he stops. He cannot defeat a Cathara formation of that size, and he knows it." 40 minutes, Nathan said. "The Cathara are 4 hours out," Derek said flatly. Everyone in the room ran the same calculation. Nathan turned to Zara. "How long does your father have?" She understood the question immediately. It was not about his illness. "If Draken advances and takes this station," she said, "the Chamberlain loses the ability to act. The recall order dies. Draken becomes the story everyone tells. My father dies believing his daughter was lost in a navigational accident, and his brother takes the Empire." "Then we need to buy 40 minutes, Nathan said. "We need Draken to stay uncertain." "With 3 ships, Derek said. 3 ships and a station that he does not know the full specifications of, Nathan said. He looked at the defense grid readout. Argus was upgraded 14 months ago. Draken's intelligence on this station is at least 2 years old. He does not know about the long-range rail battery that was installed in the refit. Derek went still. That battery has never been tested in a live fire scenario. Draken does not know that. It is not rated for sustained engagement. It does not have to sustain anything. It has to fire once, at his lead ship, at maximum range, past the point where his targeting data says we cannot reach him." Nathan paused. "One shot that lands tells him his intelligence on us is wrong, and a commander whose intelligence is wrong does not advance. He holds until he can reevaluate." Derek Shaw looked at Nathan Cole for a long moment. 3 seconds, 4. "One shot," Derek said. "One shot," Nathan agreed. The targeting took 6 minutes. The battery required a manual calibration that nobody on the station had done before, which meant Nathan, and a technician named Owen Drake worked through it in the station's lower tier with a manual they were reading for the first time. Owen asked no unnecessary questions and did exactly what the manual said in the exact sequence it said to do it, which was more valuable in that moment than any amount of battlefield experience. "Ready," Owen said. Nathan called it up to Derek. The shot went out 22 minutes into the 40-minute window. It hit the lead ship's forward deflector array at a range of 900,000 kilometers. The array did not fail. The shot was not large enough for that, but the impact registered on their sensors in a way that meant Draken's bridge crew was running diagnostics right now and asking very serious questions about how a human station had reached them at that distance. The fleet held. At 39 minutes, the first Cathara ship appeared on long-range sensors. Then 4 more. Then the full formation. Vel Draken's fleet retreated across the boundary at 30 seconds before the 40-minute mark. The lead ship moved last, slow, a statement. But it moved. In the Imperial capital, the High Chamberlain published the full record of Vel Draken's actions to every member of the Imperial Governing Council. The planetary disruptor, the attack on the princess's pod, the illegal boundary crossings, the fleet in open defiance of a recall order. Veldraken surrendered to Imperial custody 6 hours later. His fleet followed. 3 days after that, Emperor Velcarin issued a formal communication through official diplomatic channels. It was the first direct communication between a Velhari emperor and a human government in 30 years. It was 3 sentences long. The first sentence acknowledged that a human soldier had saved the life of the imperial heir, in a moment when no calculation of self-interest would have required it. The second sentence stated that the Velhari Empire was revising its official classification of humanity's standing in the galactic community, permanently. The third sentence was not diplomatic language. It was personal. It was the kind of sentence that old men write when they have been sitting with something for 3 days and have decided to simply say the true thing. The third sentence was, "My daughter tells me that when she asked your soldier why he acted, he said someone has to, and then he did." Nathan read it 3 times in the crew room off the docking bay, sitting on a bench with a cooling cup of coffee, while outside the window the asteroid belt drifted in the dark the same as it always had. Zara found him there. She sat down, which was an unusual thing for a person of her standing. He noted this without saying it. "You are going to be very famous," she said, "in 2 empires." "I would prefer not to be," he said. "I know," she was quiet for a moment. "My father's classification change is not ceremonial. It carries legal weight, trade agreements, defense provisions, recognition of territorial rights, things that 30 years of your diplomats could not achieve." "Because of one distress signal," Nathan said. "Because of the human who stopped for it," she looked at him. "Your people were always capable of this. The galaxy simply did not believe it." "We did not always believe it ourselves," Nathan said. She looked out the window at the asteroid belt. "My father wants me home," she said. "He is running out of time and I have a great deal to prepare for, a great deal to change." The people who supported Draken. They believed what they believed because no one had shown them something different. She turned back to him. "You showed me something different. I intend to pass it on." Nathan looked at her, the pale gold eyes, the expression he had finally named. It was wonder, simple and direct and completely unguarded. "Thank you, Nathan Cole," she said. "For the pod, for the channel, for the shot that held the line, for all of it." "Someone had to," he said. "Yes," she said, "but it was you." She stood straight, the posture of someone who knew what they were going back to and had accepted the weight of it fully. She walked to the door. She paused. "The Velhari do not name outsiders," she said. "It is considered too intimate, reserved for family, for those who have proven something that cannot be proven in words." She paused again. "My people have a phrase, Vel Sarak Neth. It is not a title, it is a recognition. It means one who changes the shape of things by simply being themselves." She did not translate further. She did not need to. She walked through the door. Nathan sat with his cooling coffee in the quiet room above the docking bay, and outside the window the galaxy went about its enormous business, rearranging itself around one human pilot who had stopped for a distress signal on a night when every calculation said he had no reason to. The calculations, it turned out, had been wrong. They often were when humans were involved.